We just spent a week diving around Malta on our 2024 DiveSAGA Dive Trip. Let's discover some of the dive sites together in today's episode on the DiveSAGA channel. If you're subscribed to the DiveSAGA channel, or if you follow DiveSAGA on Facebook or Instagram, then you know that I regularly organize group trips, and this year our group trip went to the tiny Mediterranean island nation of Malta. Loyal viewers of the DiveSAGA channel will already know Malta from some previous episodes. We spent our first day of the trip boat diving, leaving the harbor of Valletta and cruising to the southern tip of the tiny island of Comino, to a dive site called Lantern Point. As you can see by my big smile, diving with the DiveSAGA family is one of my favorite things to do. Although Malta is famous for wreck diving, Lantern Point is a reef dive with endless swim-throughs and crevices to explore. Although the Mediterranean is sometimes quoted to lack sea life, most of us were pleasantly surprised by the marine creatures we encountered. After a lengthy surface interval, we explored the P31 Patrol Boat wreck. Patrol Boat P31 is the only wreck around Comino Island and a popular boat dive site. Being built in the Soviet Union, P31 was a former patrol boat for the Maritime Squadron of the Armed Forces of Malta. She was deliberately scuttled in 2009 as a diving attraction and artificial reef. It's an easy wreck to dive with lots of small overhead spaces to explore. When the evening falls, the second most important part of the dive trip arrives: food. Luckily for us, Maltese people love to celebrate a variety of holidays. On September 8th, Malta celebrates Victory Day to commemorate the end of the Great Siege, the uprising against the French, and the surrender of fascist Italy. Unfortunately, on day 2 of the trip, the weather decides to keep us close to our home base in Slima, and all we can do is a shore dive of Fortizza Reef. Luckily, this reef close to the capital of Valletta is incredibly interesting. The seagrass and numerous swim-throughs make it a very unique dive site. Make sure to subscribe to the DiveSAGA channel for a dedicated video about this location. After exploring Fortizza Reef, we were able to fit in a shore dive to the Tug 2 wreck, but as you can see, visibility wasn't the best, so that's it for day 2. Next day, the weather has cleared up and we are able to take the ferry to Gozo Island for some shore dives. The sea is still rough, but luckily the wreck of the Karwela lies sheltered enough to make shore diving possible here. That being said, the entrance and exit are a bit tricky with all the swells. The MV Karwela is a favorite destination among wreck diving enthusiasts. The wooden floors give it a spooky vibe. Its most recognizable feature is the dramatic staircase that scuba divers love to dive up and down on. You can find a dedicated episode about the history and the features of the MV Karwela right here on the DiveSAGA channel. On our final 2 days of the trip, the weather really only allowed for diving on Malta's south side. Luckily, this is where the wreck of the El Faroud is located. El Faroud is a Libyan oil tanker that exploded in the harbor of Valletta during maintenance work.
Although 9 people lost their lives during this dramatic event, the Maltese government eventually decided to scuttle the El Faroud and turn her into an extra dive site for wreck divers. The El Faroud is easily one of Malta's best wrecks. It's gigantic, relatively accessible at 30 meters 100 feet, and due to its size, it can accommodate a lot of wreck diving enthusiasts at the same time. We ended up making no less than 4 dives spread over 2 days on the El Faroud, with every dive being better than the previous one. With so much to explore and such accessible and interesting insights, it's easy to understand why people travel from all over the world to dive the El Faroud. You can find the full story on the tragedy of the El Faroud on the DiveSAGA channel. Despite a few setbacks with the weather, our DiveSAGA group trip to Malta was spectacular. Diving with old friends and making new ones is one of my favorite things to do, and I'm super grateful to everyone who joined us this time around. An extra thank you goes to Watercolors Dive Center, owner Jason, and dive guides Danny and Hugo for making this a memorable week. If you're also looking for a scuba tribe, make sure to subscribe to the DiveSAGA channel. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram as we announce group trips and training opportunities regularly, and everyone is welcome.